That cologne you are wearing right now probably cost less than $3 to produce and is sitting on your shelf with a price tag of $120 or more. And the worst part is not the markup. It is that the fragrance industry has spent decades making sure you never find out what is actually inside that bottle, because the moment you do, you will never look at a designer cologne counter the same way again. Here is something the fragrance industry does not want you to know. The liquid inside a designer cologne bottle typically costs between $2 and $6 to produce. The rest of what you pay, and we are talking about anywhere from $80 to $400 depending on the brand, goes directly in to the bottle design, the box, the celebrity endorsement contracts, the magazine advertisements, and the retail markup that department stores add before the product ever reaches your hands. This is not speculation. This is how the fragrance business has operated for over a century, and understanding this one fact is the single most important thing you can do before you ever spend money on a cologne again. Let us start with Giorgio Armani. The Acqua di Gio fragrance has been one of the best-selling colognes in the United States of America for over 2 decades. It retails for around $100 for a standard bottle. What most people do not realize is that Armani does not actually make this fragrance. The production is handled by a company called Interparfums, which manufactures fragrances for dozens of designer labels simultaneously. The raw materials in Acqua di Gio, including the marine accord, the jasmine, and the cedarwood base, cost approximately $4 per bottle at production volume. The formula itself is not proprietary innovation. It is a licensed interpretation of a widely used aquatic fragrance family that perfumers have been working with since the early 1990s. What you are paying $100 for is the Armani name, the bottle that was designed by an external packaging firm, and the decades of advertising that trained an entire generation to associate that scent with a particular image of Italian luxury. The fragrance inside is real. The price, however, is almost entirely a branding exercise. Now let us talk about Versace. The Eros line retails between $80 and $130, depending on the size, and it is one of the most heavily advertised men's fragrances on the market. The production cost per bottle lands around $3.50. Versace's parent company, Capri Holdings, allocates an enormous portion of its annual budget to fragrance marketing because fragrance is one of the highest margin product categories in fashion. The actual scent profile of Eros, which combines mint, apple, and vanilla in a formula that most professional perfumers describe as competent but formulaic, costs almost nothing to replicate at scale. What keeps the price elevated is not the quality of the ingredients, but the size of the marketing machine surrounding the product. The Versace name, the Greek mythology branding, the images of athletes and models, none of that is inside the bottle, but all of it is inside the price. Hugo Boss is perhaps the most transparent example of how designer fragrance pricing works, because the company has been unusually candid in its financial reporting. It says Boss Bottled, one of the brand's flagship colognes, retails for around $90. The production cost per unit, including the raw fragrance materials, the bottle, the cap, and the outer packaging, comes in at approximately $8. The remaining $82 covers licensing fees paid to the Hugo Boss trademark owners, the advertising partnerships, the celebrity campaigns, and the retail distribution network. There is nothing wrong with Boss Bottled as a fragrance. It is a perfectly serviceable, woody spice scent that wears well in professional environments. But the moment you understand that you are paying $90 for something that cost $8 to put in your hands, you begin to ask a very different question. Is there a better way to spend that money? Dolce & Gabbana's Light Blue is one of the most recognized cologne names in the world, and it is a masterclass in brand-driven pricing. The fragrance retails for around $85 to $110. The production cost is approximately $5 per bottle. Light Blue was created by perfumer Oliver Cresp in the early 2000s and has remained virtually unchanged since its launch. The formula is stable, inexpensive to produce at scale, and broadly appealing because it uses a very safe and well understood combination of citrus, apple, and musk. The reason this fragrance commands a premium price has nothing to do with the quality or complexity of the ingredients. It has everything to do with the campaign imagery, the Mediterranean Lifestyle Association, and the consistent advertising investment that Dolce & Gabbana has maintained for over 20 years. You are not buying a sophisticated fragrance. You are buying a marketing legacy. Calvin Klein's Eternity for Men is another example worth examining closely. It retails for around $70 to $100 and is produced under license by Coty Incorporated, one of the largest fragrance manufacturing companies in the world. Coty produces fragrances for Calvin Klein, Burberry, Gucci, Marc Jacobs, and dozens of other designer labels, often in the same facilities. The production cost of Eternity for Men is around $4 per bottle. The fragrance formula, which enters on a classic green floral aldehyde structure, has been in continuous production since 1990 and is one of the most replicated scent profiles in the mass fragrance market. When you buy Eternity for Men, you are paying primarily for the Calvin Klein name and the emotional associations that name carries, not for any meaningful distinction in the fragrance itself. Now, here's where the education becomes genuinely useful, because there is an entirely different world of fragrance operating outside the designer system, and these brands price their products based on what is actually inside the bottle rather than what is printed on the outside. Creed is a fragrance house that has been operating since 1760, and its Aventus cologne is widely considered one of the most influential masculine fragrances of the modern era. It retails for around $400, which sounds expensive until you understand what you are actually paying for. Creed uses a proprietary blending technique called the infusion method, which involves macerating raw materials directly into alcohol rather than using synthetic aromatic chemicals as shortcuts. The raw materials in Aventus, including Calabrian bergamot, French jasmine, absolute, and real ambergris accord, cost significantly more than anything used in mass designer production. The production cost per bottle lands around $80 to $100, which means the markup is modest compared to brands charging $100 for a product that cost $4 to make. Aventus is not perfect for everyone, but it is one of the few cases in the fragrance industry where the price is connected to real material and production investment. Maison Margiela's replica line takes a completely different approach to fragrance pricing and transparency. Each scent in the replica collection is built around a specific sensory memory: a beach walk, a jazz club, a fireplace in a winter cabin, and the house publishes detailed fragrance notes and concentration information on every product. Replica colognes retail for around $150 to $200 and are produced by L'Oreal's luxury fragrance division using higher concentration formulas and quality raw materials that are measurably different from mass designer production. The house does not use celebrity campaigns or lifestyle advertising. It invests in the formulas themselves and in detailed storytelling about what each scent is meant to evoke. For the price, you are receiving a genuine olfactory experience built on real ingredients and honest positioning. Le Labo is a New York City-based fragrance house that has built its entire reputation on transparency and freshness. Every bottle of Le Labo cologne is blended to order at the point of sale, which means the fragrance you receive has never been sitting in a warehouse, oxidizing under fluorescent light. Santal 33, the brand's most recognized scent, retails for around $220 for a standard bottle. The formula uses real sandalwood, cardamom, and a distinctive violet accord that has made it one of the most imitated fragrances in the niche perfume world. Le Labo publishes its ingredient concentrations, sources its materials from certified suppliers, and does not spend money on traditional advertising. The price reflects the cost of the materials, the freshness of the blend, and the small batch production model. Parfums de Marly is a French fragrance house that draws on the heritage of the court of Versailles and produces colognes at a concentration and quality level that is genuinely uncommon in the designer market. Layton, one of the house's flagship masculine fragrances, retails for around $350. The formula uses an unusually rich combination of apple, jasmine, cardamom, and vanilla that is built on a base of genuine sandalwood and guaiac wood. The concentration level is higher than most designer offerings, meaning the fragrance lasts significantly longer per application. The production cost per bottle is substantially higher than anything in the designer segment, and the house's distribution is deliberately limited to maintain quality control. Penhaligon's is a British fragrance house, established in 1870, that has maintained consistent quality standards across its entire history. Halfeti, one of its most celebrated masculine fragrances, retails for around $200 and is produced using a formula built around genuine oud leather and rose absolutes. The house does not license its name to mass market producers and maintains full control over its formulas and production. Halfeti is a dense, complex fragrance that requires genuine expertise to produce, and the retail price reflects both the material cost and the craftsmanship involved in the blending process. The fragrance industry is built on one fundamental assumption: that you will never look past the bottle, that you will smell something pleasant in a department store, see a familiar name on the packaging, and hand over your money without asking a single question about what is actually inside. But now you know how the pricing works. You know that a $100 designer cologne typically costs between $3 and $8 to produce. You know that the name on the outside and the quality on the inside are almost entirely disconnected in the mass fragrance market. And you know that there is a whole world of fragrance built on real materials, honest pricing, and genuine craftsmanship if you know where to look. That knowledge is worth more than any cologne on a department store shelf. If this video changed the way you think about what you spray on yourself every morning, share it with someone who is still paying full price for a designer label. Subscribe to this channel because every week we break down exactly where your money actually goes in the men's fashion and lifestyle industry. No sponsored content, no affiliate codes, just the numbers, the materials, and the truth behind the brands that you see every day. Leave a comment below and tell us which cologne you are currently wearing and what you paid for it. We read every single one, and your experience helps us build better content for this entire community.